All right, ladies and gents, got my mates and clients here today again. I've had a few of my awesome clients on, luckily, and Stephen's over there in Wales. He's a fellow Welsh lad, just for the audience. I know most of you are in America. We're both from Wales, right? Just to be clear, Steve, right? We're not English. You just want to put that out there, right? Even though
No,
you
but,
live in
but,
England.
but technically I am in England, but we'll let that one slide.
But yeah, I've got Steve here. Steve's been on the program now for 3 months, and I want to get him on because I like to share people. I'm very big on high performance, number one, being able to perform at your best with what you do, right? In work, and also for the people that are close to you, right? Your family. And then also factoring in your health to that as well, because so many people, they get really high up, maybe in the corporate world or in their career or entrepreneurs, and then they neglect their health. And I see it happen time and time again, Steve. And it's a big trap, man. And it's really sad to see. Unfortunately, a lot of people, they take it too far. They end up with diabetes or something like that. And they have all this money, but buying your health back is not easy. Once it's gone, it's kind of gone. And it's hard to pull it back. You can, but it's hard to pull it back. But Steve, you've managed to juggle things, right? Over the last 3 months since we've been working together. I've seen you go from strength to strength. Obviously, you joined the program. You'd already got some good motion, right? Started taking your health more seriously about whenever it was before that, about a year or so prior to that, and we've gone to new levels. So share a bit more, about yourself, man, and what your life looks like day to day, and I guess was there any trigger moments, Steve, that made you go, do you know what, I'm gonna really start taking my health more seriously, or was it just like a
Yeah,
gradual thing?
no, absolutely. So I've always, been sporty. So as a kid, I played rugby, football, hockey, you name it. I just loved that kind of lifestyle. Was all about that. Went to uni, probably did what most people do in the UK, and started drinking too much. Lived the party scene, as I know you've explained on your podcast before. And then really, I got out of shape. To be fair, I work in banking, basically leading a retail banking partnership. So high pressure, lots of responsibility. And with that, I became complacent. So I got to a stage where I was kind of neglecting those pillars of health, nutrition, fitness, etc. And I think at one point I got quite out of shape. So I was drinking, probably not as much as most people do in the UK, but enough for me that it became something I wanted to change, because you'd be in that pattern of going out on the weekend, drinking, and then you just see the pillar effect and the knock-on ripple of the bad habits. So probably about, I'd say in my 30s, I started training and taking it seriously. But I guess my level of education at that point was more around, got to do more, got to put more volume on. It was always about trying to basically destroy myself in the gym. So I got up to a point where I was probably training 6 days a week, huge central nervous system stress, and wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And I guess it's probably in the last 3 years where I've really honed and dialed it in, and realized it's the gym element of it is a relatively small component. It's the nutrition, it's the mental health side, and all that comes as a package. And I think, working with you has really helped me hone that in and optimize that, and brought a new degree of accountability that I've probably not been used to before.
The accountability helps, doesn't it, man? It's good just to have someone watching over what you're doing and just having that structure there, right?
Yeah.
And, because what it's like with yourself. You go to London once a week, right? You go there minimum. You're structured. You have all these meetings. And people like yourself, I see it happen where they have everything organized to a T with their meetings and their business. But then when it comes to their health, even factoring it into your calendar sometimes is important,
Yeah.
as if it's a non-negotiable meeting, right? Ultimately, It's time with yourself, right? It's therapy, like we talked about before. But just to track back on what you were saying, can you remember having a lowest point, Steve? Was there any points? I know you said it was like 3 years. You let yourself go a little bit. You're out of shape 3 years.
For sure.
3 years ago, you started taking it seriously. Was there any moments or?
Yeah, I think I got up to around 100 kilo. Some of that was muscle, but I was overweight. I was stressed. Or I, on paper, I had everything. I had great family life, earned a lot of money, really successful, from, I guess, from the outside in, but I was just in a rut, really not motivated, felt that I wasn't achieving, even though obviously clearly was, and just didn't really feel fulfilled. I was always chasing that next thing. And then I think that was really the moment for me where something had to change. And then, as you know, I knocked alcohol on the head completely. And that was a key trigger point. But then it was really honing in all the other components, like the nutrition was huge. So understanding nutrition and, not buying into all the fads and trying to cut out processed food, keeping it simple has been the biggest game changer for me, I think.
Yeah, 100%. No, congrats on the results you've had as well, man. It's what you said then, right? So what you're saying is you got to a point where you're like, right, someone's got to change. You
Yeah.
got up to 100 kilos. Now you're like, what, 25 kilos or whatever it is, less than that, give or take. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And more importantly, though, now you've made it a habit. And even over the past like 90 days, or let's just say 3 months since we've been working together, you've changed. You've now added in the smart piece, right? So you've started adding the smart piece of what you're doing. Like we said the other day on the call, right? You don't feel like you're training necessarily as hard per session or doing as much, but you're doing less. But like I said earlier on the voice note, you're spreading it out now, right? It's like the frequency, doing it smarter. So talk us through that, man, because I was just saying, man, you look jacked. You know what I mean? And when you started, just to give the audience a bit of a thing, how we've done it, started off with a fat loss phase. Obviously, you joined the challenge when I did that challenge, dropped a bunch of fat, retained muscle, and then we just went up from there, just focusing on basically build a muscle since then, so we can build your metabolism up and get you in a place where it's sustainable and you're in way better shape. You notice yourself and other people notice, right, Steve? When you build, people always want to lose fat, but when you build muscle, you improve that the waist ratio. You know, people actually, it's not all about people noticing, but people notice more as a byproduct, right? Because you got a better
they do, absolutely. And I think it's exactly how you've described there. So it's around putting a system in place. Working with you, I was probably in the mindset that you had to lift as much as possible, and I was pushing my body too much. I wasn't getting enough quality recovery in. I think your system honed that all in, so that the volume dropped off completely. So I was probably going from 6 days a week training to 3 days weight training, and then band sessions and recovery sessions in between. But the thing I like as well is with your app, we have only got like a handful of daily non-negotiable habits, and now they're just second nature. I don't really need to fill out the app, because the first thing I'll do in the morning is get the fluids in, electrolytes before the coffee. Sleep, as you know, has been a bit challenging because of the situation I've been going through in my personal life. However, I've worked hard to try and optimize that. And then I guess listening to my body, like I'm touch wood, been in a period of no injuries, which for me, when you train at that level of intensity I was before, you do pick up niggles. And then, I'm over 40 now, so I get an injury, I'm recovering for quite a long period of time. And it's just taking it back to basics, and the nutrition side as well. Like, you're one of a few people, I think this is why we connected actually, that understands nutrition. You're not a fitness professional who's pumping out, you got to hit these macros, you've got to do X, Y, Z. You actually study the science behind it, so you understand it. And I think you put a post out there that resonated with me, and that's why we started talking. And I found it hugely beneficial.
Yeah, awesome, man. You're 44 now, right, Steve?
I am.
Yeah,
44
years old.
But
44 years young. Look at that tan, boy. Hey, for the audience, I don't think you understand.
Wow.
The weather in the UK is horrendous, even in the summer normally. So the fact that you got a tan.
It's 30 degrees here today.
Oh, lovely jubbly, my man.
You're a better tan than you, and you're in Australia.
You have, mate. It's winter here. In my defense, mate, it's winter, right? We're the heart of winter. You have got a way better tan, actually. But it's the lights, it is, man. I'm telling you, it's the downlight there.
Yeah,
anyway, yeah. So going back to where you're at then now. So let's talk about how you've managed to implement these habits around your busy lifestyle, right? So first of all, we always got to talk about, that's the foundation, right? It's the sleep, to be fair, you average 7.5 hours normally, 7 hours. On a
Yes.
bad week, you'll still get that 7 on average, right? So the first thing we did, right, first port of call, it was, right, let's get the water in before you have your caffeine, right? Because you weren't hydrating before caffeine. I always talk about this one.
No.
So we started doing that. You were already having the electrolytes, right? So you started having the water again, ticking off as a habit, but it's second nature now. So talk us through the main habits, let's just say over the last kind of 3 months that you've implemented. We got the water, we got the sleep, obviously even the training's changed, nutrition. What stands out to you, and how have you managed to kind of stick with them around your busy lifestyle? And I think we could even go with training with that one, right? Because when you travel to London and you're on the move, and especially nutrition, right? It gets harder when you're on the move, right? And traveling.
Big time, yeah. And I think a lot of it is around planning your week. So I know if I'm in London, I might not have access to a quality gym, for example. So we will work together to move the schedule around to accommodate my lifestyle. And obviously I've got the kids here sometimes, so that can be difficult in getting out. I think in terms of the specific habits though, so movement, so getting out, trying to get in 10,000 steps minimum a day has been an absolute game changer. I'm convinced that's probably the thing that really helps shift the weight the most. That obviously, because you're out in nature as well, you get a bit of a mental break, and I think that's a really important component in all of this. So I've been going through quite a challenging period at the moment. I couldn't have done it without kind of getting out, walking a lot, having all these little things dialed in. And for me, they're like little wins every day and things that you can tick off, and you kind of got to celebrate those as well. Nutrition, absolutely. I find now if I eat processed food, my stomach goes, what are you doing? It really doesn't agree with me. And you just feel you've got so much more energy by feeding your body with, nutritious food. Fluid intake, really important. Like I was fueling on caffeine to get my energy really. And I do still do it to a point, but I make sure the non-negotiable is the electrolytes in the morning, and then I take 3 throughout the day effectively. Lot of supplementation as well, just to keep on top of certain levels, as you know, like you mentioned about the weather in the UK. So I'll supplement with D3, magnesium, a multivitamin, omega-3s, etc. Stuff where you can traditionally struggle getting through your diet, but obviously they are supplements. They are not, the foundation of what you put in your body. I think training wise as well, I think you said it earlier, like for me, it's a non-negotiable, and I've got a lot of mates and colleagues who operate at a really high level in whatever fields they're in, and you see them super successful, but the one thing they don't invest in is themselves, and they don't have that daily exercise or mental health kind of check-in or work, and you can see it in cracks in themselves really, because they're not keeping on top of that, and eventually it all leads to burnout and illness. But for me, it's number one priority. I need to be optimal in myself, my body, my mind, etc., to be able to be the best version I can be for me and my family.
Burnout and illness, man. You said it well in a nutshell, right? That's where it leads. And people really they don't take it seriously, a lot of people, until, unfortunately, like I said earlier, something happens, something bad happens with their health, or you see it happen, don't you? When they lose a marriage falls apart or something like that, and nothing is going to improve how you show up as a person, right? To your family, in your professional, even just having like 10% more confidence, 10, 20% more confidence, how you feel about yourself, more energy, right, Steve? Especially with what you do, what I do, it makes all the difference, man. It improves every aspect of your life.
Oh, it does.
And I think because people always look, I got to build this whole wall, right? But like from everything you've said, right? 3 years building the foundation, getting moving over the last 3 months, leveled up, right? Because you invested obviously in the coaching and stuff, and it's like building that wall brick by brick, right, my man? Rather than just and just not seeing the value again in that 10% improvement. I think people overlook the simple things, right?
Oh, they do, and you talk about an investment, and it's exactly that. Like a lot of people get put off by a price of training with a coach, and I couldn't disagree more, to be honest. Like, if someone can help you be a much better version of yourself and invest the time in you and help you completely change your lifestyle and habits, which you've certainly contributed as others have, it's an absolute game changer. Like, I mean, you roll 20 years down the line and you're in chronic health conditions, then you'll wish that you'd invested in that, little piece of coaching or I don't know, more on the nutrition or mental health side. So for me, then it's been a big mind shift, because I used to spend on, looking for that dopamine hit. But now it's more about investing in stuff that's going to really benefit me. And it's not, dopamine chasing things, like not material things. It's about my health. And I'm a lot happier for it, and I feel good. As you say, people comment on your appearance, which is always doesn't really bother me, but it's, nice to hear that people recognize the effort that goes in, because that's the other thing, is getting in shape is hard. There's no quick fix. It's laborious. It takes time, but you do really enjoy it as well. Like for me, it's my, like, the training aspect is almost more for my mind than the body, because it just helps clear your head after a tough day, and it just builds that natural endorphins and dopamine hit that you really need.
It's the best natural antidepressant, man, and the research is clear on that as well. Don't get me wrong, some people, they may need medication, but for the most part, well, I mean, not for the most part, research shows clearly, right, that exercise is actually more effective than natural, than antidepressants, right? It's the best natural antidepressant. I'll say it again, right? Endorphins. Look at endorphins within themselves, right? The feel-good hormone, the here and now is one of the here and now hormones. In other words, in the moment, like, dopamine is kind of like when you're pursuing stuff, but endorphins is like, for example, when people jack up on heroin and stuff, right? I know we're going to a weird place there, right? But that's what it is.
Just for the record.
Exactly. The opioid system, and it's a powerful hack. And sometimes, again, people overcomplicate things. Some people who are not doing anything exercise wise, you don't have to go to the gym because people put barriers in the way, right? Oh, I'm busy going to the gym. I gotta get my car, my gym kit. That's 90 minutes. 2 hours. I haven't got time. You know what I mean? Go for a walk. You only have to go for a 20, 30-minute walk. Imagine someone now listening to this where you're not. I know a lot of people listening to this, to be fair, they're already in motion, most of them, because they're listening to a podcast, right? And I already know a lot of people in the audience, they engage. But, for the average person, I'm sure we all know, family members, colleagues, whatever, that they're not, like you said, you mentioned some people there, right? They might be making good money, and on paper, it looks like they're doing really well. Though when someone's not in shape, physically and mentally, all they have to, and they don't do anything at all they have to do is go for a walk in the morning. It doesn't have to be complicated. 20, 30-minute walk. Movement is medicine. But you also said something else then, man. You said about lifestyle and habits, and you also mentioned about the importance of just making it a priority, right? Making it a priority. Just it's the compound effect. From what you've said, is the compound effect of stacking habits over time, which is the end product. Then is your physique starts looking better, right? But let's talk about mental health, Steve, because I know you do some stuff in the space, right, where you're doing some stuff where you're helping men in particular, right? Mental health is a bit of a movement you've got going on there with some of the contacts you have in your organization and stuff. But with yourself, I know you said you went through a personal struggle. How have you managed? Because another problem I see, Steve, is people's personal standards drop when life gets really stressful, right? And I understand, like, we've got to have compassion here as well, right?
Absolutely.
When terrible stuff happens and you get snowed under, poof, boy, that's hard, right? That's when it really can make or break you. But I always argue that's why you want to build a foundation with your health and habits, because they're there, and that's your savior when you have those issues. And you keep your personal standards even higher, ideally, and just be consistent with your, at least your training, your exercise, your movement, going to the gym. Even if you're not pushing yourself, when you're under more stress, just doing half the session or just doing a light little pump in the gym, some mobility, anything. Just going back to what you said, Steve, right? You've got to have wins, right? If you're looking, good, that's why journaling is powerful, right? At the end of your day, if you're writing down in your journal, right? You got to have some wins, even if it's little wins. Went for my walk today. Drank my water,
Exactly.
With the meeting that I had to show up for. Show it, like, If you've got no wins at all, you're not reflecting on that, or you're not, like that's a good thing with a calendar, right? You're ticking off those habits and you're
Yeah.
seeing the wins. But sorry, man, I'm waffling a bit here because I want to get into, not waffling, but I'm going off on a tangent because
No, it's all good.
I want people to understand that those personal standards, like when you've gone through all this stuff, right, Steve?
Yeah.
You've had to have that foundation of health.
Yeah. So there's loads to unpack there, and I'm glad we've touched on this because this is a subject, as you know, that I'm really passionate about. So in work, I set up with some other guys a men's focused inclusion and diversity group because we were keen to make sure that men were still in that discussion, and also we have got a tendency to not engage in this type of thing, and men's issues, men's health is really important. You got traditional stereotypes of alpha males and what that means, and about bottling up your feelings, not talking about stuff, and I couldn't disagree with that stereotype anymore, really. Like the impact of bottling things up, not talking about stuff, it's just this horrible ripple compound effect, and I've been there. So I've been through some challenging times. I've just going through a separation. I was diagnosed with ADHD probably last year. So for me, it was this huge life events of really questioning my identity. Everything that I held true, all my values had been challenged, turned upside down, and for me, my mental health was not in a good place at the time. I've never been one to have suicidal thoughts or anything like that because I love life, I want to live, but getting into that really deep and dark space is a challenge, and there's a number of things that really help for me, and your community is a good example of that. So being in a community, engaging with people, having those outlets that you don't just put on the back burner, not going out with friends, and putting things off. Like community is massive. I think as well, I started taking it a lot more seriously and looked into different ways you can support your mental health. So I was keen to understand more about ADHD. So I met a fabulous therapist who I went to and was talking about the nuances of ADHD. I had no idea really what it was, the challenges that I might face. But when you start talking about it, all these pennies drop. Oh, right, that's why I act like that, or that's why I'm competitive, or what have you. But then she also helped with a lot of other aspects of my mental health as well. Another great tool I found was an app called Metal. And I reached out to the CEO on LinkedIn because I downloaded this app, and it's fronted by a number of quite well-known people in the UK. So Bear Grylls, Dr. Alex George, Chibs Okereke, and Jamie Clements, and real thought leaders in their professions. And it's designed to be a men's mental fitness app. And it's great because it's really bite-sized chunks of meditation, breathwork, hypnotherapy, and thought leadership on the topics of men's mental health. And they're really trying to break down the stigma of mental health. And I just find it super, super usable. And if I feel I'm struggling, I'll just take 5 minutes out, just do a little breath work exercise or a bit of meditation, and you just feel those cortisol levels drop, and your nervous system starts to regulate again. Because one thing with neurodiverse people, we struggle with nervous system regulation. So what that means is we can jump into fight and flight mode, but find it very difficult to get that equilibrium and stay calm. So we can be triggered quite easily. And I mean, there's pros and cons to it. Obviously, I'm very empathetic. I really care about people. And on the flip side, though, you can get hurt and, struggle with the mental aspects as well. So those tools, I guess I call it a toolkit, like on a number of levels. Like I've got certain things that I'll go to if I'm struggling, and fitness training is one, nutrition, community, and then the more nuanced topics of mental health as well.
Yeah, that's a big one, man, especially for men
Mm.
in terms of the vulnerability piece. And I feel it's really important. You mentioned community as well. I
Yeah.
think it's really important as men. Women generally are more social creatures.
Yeah.
So they tend to like naturally, for the most part, get together, talk. We're built differently, right? Whereas men, it doesn't really come natural for us most of the time. So, and we feel that, well, there's lots of different things going on there, right? Sharing vulnerabilities and stuff. You've got to be in a safe place to do it for a man, as a man, first and
Yeah.
foremost. And firstly, it's actually a superpower as well. Again, I think we have to be careful as well. Like you say, you had therapy.
Mm.
When you get around men that you trust, right? Sharing that stuff is awesome. And even like on social media, I've shared loads of things as well, right? And it's a superpower. It's a superpower being able to share that. And I think a lot of us, we think it's the opposite to what it is, right? We think it's weakness. We've been programmed that way for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But turns out, and exactly what you said, Steve, right? Research is clear. The worst thing, men or women, worst thing you can do when you've got issues is not talk about the problem, actually. That's the worst thing you can do. And it's grim, right? When you look at the suicide rate in men in particular, sometimes it's only a conversation they need, man. And you may have seen my good friend Ian, he's kicked off the Good Men Helping Good Men thing here in Sydney. And by the way, you have to go and follow them on Instagram, right? Because their content's awesome. He's got a podcast as well, The Artistry of Humanity. The Artistry of Humanity. And we saved a life already because I had a guy that I used to train, actually. I used to coach him online. Long story short, went into a dark place, was going to kill himself, had the rope ready and everything. And I had a therapist before, like yourself. I had a great therapist here. And he was speaking to me and asking me, because we're open, like, we've got this good relationship. And that's the good thing as well about having men that you trust, friends, even stuff we talked about, right? Checking with your mental health, especially at the start when I started
every
coaching
week you do,
Yeah, exactly, man. Want to know where you're at? That's the most important thing. We always talk about, have you got any injuries when I'm putting your program together? What about the important thing? You can't see the injuries going on there if you've got any, or if they're not even injuries. If you've got like issues going on there, we can't see those things, man. It's invisible. And it's easy to try and put on a brave face. Hey, you get that, don't you? How you doing? Yeah, I'm good. Men are a nightmare for that. How you doing? Yeah, good, man. Like inside you could be dying, right? It's like, oh, wait, yeah, man, awesome. You know what I mean? But anyway, long story short, my mates, my old clients, therapist rang me one day. My old therapist, she goes, you're going to have to speak to Hayden. He literally was just he had the rope ready and everything. Give him a call. Luckily, crazy, right? He was picking his missus up at 4 p.m. That was his reason for not to do it, right? Because he committed to picking his missus up. So he didn't do it. And he went and picked her up. And then he told the therapist, she told me, I rang him up, had a talk with him for an hour. That was all he needed, man. Like, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like, okay, problem solved. Everything's fine after an hour. No. But the main problem was gone. Yeah, the main problem was gone because he was like, I spoke to him and I just listened to him for an hour talking, right? Man, that's not good. And sometimes I think as men as well, it's hard not to do, right? It's like I'm probably doing it a bit now. We try and solve the problem, right? We're programmed that way. I want to solve it. This is what you do. Nah. Sometimes you just got to sit in the mud with someone, man. You just got to sit in the mud with them and go, man, like that's tough, bro. You don't have to say much. That's tough, bro. Let them talk.
I totally agree. And sitting in that feeling and actually feeling it is a really important part of processing and moving forward. And at the time, it won't feel pleasant and it won't feel like you're making progress. But having all those wins that you talked about earlier, it is how you start building up that tank of resilience. And I think you touched on another subject there around, I think men really struggle with their identity and who they are and their values and stuff. And if you can really challenge yourself to do that, absolute game changer. Like I always guess followed a path that you're programmed or pre-programmed to do, or you've got to go to university, you've got to be successful, you've got to have 2.4 children and all that. But you kind of lose sight of who you are a bit and what your values are, like what's important to you, what are your boundaries. And I certainly fell into a trap where I became a bit codependent. And what that means is effectively allowing the way you feel be dictated by other people because you're trying to please or you want them to be happy. But you've really got to self-reflect and do that in a work. And I think until people actually do that, and that's a bloody hard process as well, and it'll be traumatic, upsetting, happy, but you come out the end of it and you feel like a totally different person. And that's the space I'm in at the moment. And I mean, you've helped me immeasurably. I know you probably don't know it, but your level of accountability and forensicness. Great story when my sleep.
Forensicness. I haven't heard that one before. I like that one.
Well, a good story is when you mentioned about the my sleep going a bit awry. And I think you sent me a message, must have been about 11 o'clock.
So you were
Go to
online.
sleep.
I've done that a few times, actually.
Guilty.
Yeah. It's hilarious when you go online and you see someone online, it says, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want them online. It says you're online, bro.
Realize. I'm not online.
Exactly. No, it's my twin brother. No, man, it's exactly. I thought you got to get to sleep, man, and it's like that, and it's like because I want the best for you, right? I want the best for my clients, and I think that's another thing as well, though, right? It's not all about someone telling you off. I think some people they get the wrong end. If you need someone to kind of tell you off all the time and constantly nag you to do things, like you're never gonna get there, right? You've got to really want it. And that's why I'll give you, like, the accountability helps because, I'm watching, you got the structure, you got the guidance, you got the habits to follow. Another thing is with tracking progress as well, which we'll touch on towards the end now in terms of physique results and everything. But you hold yourself accountable, right, Steve?
Yeah.
You put in the work and you got 2 kids. Talk us through that, man. Like how you day to day you do it. And you mentioned about it earlier. I think you hit the nail on the head. You do it because of how you feel mentally and emotionally. And that's really what keeps you going long term. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that was, I guess, my why, really. Like, I wasn't showing up being the best version for my kids. Like when I was in this state of bad habits, I could get quite sure not spend enough time with them. I'd buy them whatever they wanted, really, but then all they really want is your time. And now, like every time I've got my kids, I'm either out on the lake on the paddle boards or I'm playing football up on the football pitch, and it's just investing that time. And I think it's just so important that, you really understand what your why is and hold yourself account. And you will fail. Like there'll be days where I might slip and, I haven't drunk enough fluid, or I've eaten something I probably shouldn't have. But I think your little mantra of, what was it? Don't do it twice or something?
Never miss twice.
Never miss twice. That's it. Yeah. Sorry, I should know that by now.
That's all right. It's all good, man. Because you're sticking to it. That's all that matters.
Great little prompt and reminder. Who cares? We're all human. Move on. Don't do it again today.
100%, man. And that's a good point you made there as well, right? Because it's the guilt and the beating yourself up, which really holds people back, because it's a horrible place to be. Let's be honest. We all do it in different areas, right? Yeah. I did it recently, right, on a different area, right? But this is like, you still going on about that. Sold some of my Bitcoin, didn't I, Steve? Instantly regretted it. I'm like, what am I selling my Bitcoin for? What am I doing? You know what I mean? I did it because anyway, it was for a good cause. I only sold a little bit, kept some. It doesn't matter what it is, right? But I was, mate, for like weeks, even now, I'm like, why are you still, but like, everything works out fine, right? That's just an example. But we do that with food. Most people really struggle when they slip up a few times with food. They might be traveling with work like yourself, or they might be at a client. This happens a lot, right? Client dinners and stuff like that, or with the kid. And then before you know it, they drop the ball. Maybe the day's gone away from them, like you said. And then rather than just bouncing back, and when I say bouncing back, I don't mean going to extremes, right? Because a lot of people the next day, messed up that date. Now I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to eat 1,000 calories. You know what I'm saying? No, that's bad too. I was in that place. That's not a good place. Just go back to normal the next day, like you said, right? But it's all mental fortitude, right, Steve? And when you look at your physique now, I'm looking at your physique. I'm like, wow, you've come a long way. It's all mindset, man. It's just being consistent and bouncing back from the setbacks, right? It's kind of like relative to life, really, isn't it?
Oh, 100% agree. And like, I think one of the things with guys as well is, we go to the gym and we think we need to kill ourselves. And I think as you mature and get older, you realize you've got to leave that ego. You got to listen to your body, and just honing it in that regard is so much more beneficial, and you'll get much better results as a result.
100%, my man, 100%. So just to kind of, I guess, wrap this up now, right? We've got like 5-10 minutes. What is it you would say to people now, right? You work a lot of hours. Like you say, you go to London once a week. You got 2 kids. Like, because we can give them all the time management tactics in the world. This is another thing, right? Everything we give you, we can give you all these resources, time management. We can give you the ultimate meal plan for your body and perfect macros and calories. We can get it all bang on. But discipline's a foundation. Without that, it ain't going to happen, right? that people want all these fancy. Really, you got to plan ahead, right? So talk us through how
Yeah.
you manage it, man. It's a Monday now. Give us an example, right? You got the week ahead. How do you manage your health around it, around all your busy schedule?
I mean, discipline is actually the perfect word. People talk about motivation and stuff like that, but really, it's just being disciplined. You need that foundation of small habits, and it's not massive stuff. So it's the things like, your nutrition, your hydration, um, building a training schedule, and prioritizing you first and foremost is paramount. Like if you're not optimizing your lifestyle, you'll see the cracks in other areas. So for me, it's around prioritization. It is a non-negotiable for me. So I know for my mental health, training, getting outside, speaking with friends, etc., is really important. So I try and make sure that I'm doing a bit of that every day. But the food foundations, as you say, is really shown a lot of difference in my physique as well, I think, because you're fueling your body in the right way. And really, it's just not eating processed food. Like, if you're in a calorie deficit, surplus, whatever, yes, your weight will fluctuate. But if you're nourishing your body with quality food, you've got that solid foundation. So for me, it's really around habits, making sure I've got a small amount of habits. You don't want to overwhelm yourself. Understanding what your motivation is and your why, and having a value set and living to that, and holding yourself account. But then I think the bit I like about working with you is it's that extra layer of accountability, but then also because of your breadth of knowledge, and I've got I'd say a pretty solid knowledge around a number of topics, but I can go to you and you just dial things in, tone anything I'm saying that's not true or misunderstood, and I just find that really helps me.
Yeah, because I remember we did that little challenge, right? We did that 2-week challenge, right? You jumped on, lost some fat, felt
Did.
tremendous, right? Dropped a significant amount, actually, considering it was only 2 weeks. Then we
Mm.
had a call, and then obviously you decided to sign up. Because I was like, right, we need to do a maintenance phase now, right? I remember. And you were like, I don't really know what that is. Where do I go from there? And that's where people go wrong, right? Because, for example, when it comes to fat loss or losing weight, they think, right, I want to lose 20 pounds. And they
Yeah.
just, okay, I'm just going to do what I got to do to lose the weight. But actually, the most important thing is, what do you do after you've lost the weight? Because over 90% of people,
Sustainability. Mm.
exactly, what do? You just,
Mm.
you can never go back. Like, that's what people understand. You can never go back to living the way you were before. You can't go back to the whole habits because you gain the weight back.
Yeah.
And you end up back to square one. Talk us through that, right, Steve? Because we started off losing fat. You'd already lost some fat before the program, but then you lost more. And then for like the last bloody 9-10 weeks, we've been building, right? Talk us through that, because it's a psychological barrier as well, right? Worrying about gaining fat. But as you just said, then your abs are actually looking better, if anything, right? And you've packed on a load of muscle.
Yeah. So I found the fat loss phase, and I think because it was a competition, I found it okay.
By the way, you won the challenge. Just want to let the audience know.
I did win the challenge.
Obviously,
yeah, and I found that element quite easy because I had, but if you break it down, I had a specific target, was time bound. So you mentioned SMART objectives, and that's exactly what it was. So I found that element quite easy, but then we flipped it to looking to build muscle. And all of a sudden I was going from a calorie deficit to one that was quite significantly over, where I was feeling very comfortable. And I find that shift quite hard, because I did start to see the body fat go up, but equally the muscle mass was going that way as well. So I think your reminders of that were really important. But I think the thing I noticed as well is, as I was putting more muscle on, my metabolism completely changed. Like, I've always been a bit stubborn with retaining fat, and hadn't realized, that my metabolism was probably quite slow. So even in a calorie deficit, I was not really losing that much weight. But because you helped me put these pillars in place and understand the different phases and why they're important, I feel like now I've got a much more efficient engine, and that's only going to get better and better.
100%, man. And if you look at, look, before the challenge, you were at 17%, right? Dropped a load of fat for the challenge for that 2 weeks. Now, over the space of like 10 weeks, you're bang on 17%. So you're the same body fat, which is a massive win, by the way, once you're bulking. And you've packed on, how many pounds of, well, it's all in all, it's like, in pounds, it's like 3 or 4 pounds of lean body mass, right? Say about 2 kilos, about 4 pounds of lean body mass, which is insane, right? Body fat stayed the same. And you can feel it, and you look better. Like you say, you're eating way more. That's something that people overlook, right? You're able to eat way more. You're not even tracking right now, right? You're not even tracking, and you're getting better results. Like no one wants to be doing that forever, tracking food. It's a nightmare. Let's be honest. No one enjoys it, right? We'll go back to it when we cut, but that's a good feeling as well, right? The fact that you can maintain without tracking and keep getting better results, right? And detach. It's just that's valuable within itself, isn't it? Being able to detach from that fat. Okay, body fat went back up a little bit, but it's mainly muscle. I've gained way more muscle, and I look and feel better, right? Because that holds people back so much, man. They stay stuck in that same place because they're too afraid, But obviously, having that strategy helps as well, doesn't it?
And I think tracking, I'm not a big fan of it, as you know. However, totally see the value in doing it for a period of time. I think people get too hung up around very specific details, but if you can get to a point where whatever you're doing, if you want to lose weight, put weight on, you know broadly where those numbers should be, and if you can visualize that through going through a period of tracking and then coming off it, I think mentally it's a really good place to be. Interestingly, when I lost a lot of weight, I actually think I look bigger, because you start losing weight, for men generally, stomach, chest, arms, etc. But because you're stripping that fat off, the muscle's much more prominent. People comment, "Oh, you look much bigger now," but in reality, obviously, I'm shrinking, so to speak. So and that's a mindset thing as well. Like for me, as you know, when that body fat started going up, I was questioning why we're doing this, and I kind of trusted in the process, and I can see how it works and the benefits of doing it now.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, hit the nail on the head there as well, right? Where you said, you look bigger. I used to get that leading up to bodybuilding comps when I was like shredded, like literally, like if anything, I lost a little tiny bit of muscle, but absolutely shredded. And everyone's like, "Oh, you're looking way bigger." It's just because you're peeled, right? Because you've got rid of the fat, but also in your credit as well, you maintain the muscle and the strength throughout the course of that. You can't just lose a bunch of fat without building muscle, or at least retaining muscle and doing strength training. Otherwise, you won't look as good. Hey, man, we have to wrap it up here now, because I've got a quick exit in a few minutes' time. Mates, really enjoyed that. Is there anything you'd like to say? I don't know, any advice you'd like to give yourself or to the audience, or anything you'd like to say about anything, really, whether it's the program, about your journey, about, again, any kind of advice you give yourself, or maybe a younger version of yourself in terms of
I mean,
healthy and strong?
I would start off with your values and your why, really, because that's ultimately the foundation. I'd be kind and patient with yourself. Results don't happen overnight. In terms of the program, huge benefits. Traditionally, I've been a bit skeptical about using a coach, but now I wouldn't look back at all. Now I totally appreciate there's a whole spectrum of quality coaching, and you're certainly up there with the best I've seen on YouTube, worked with, etc. And the results speak for themselves. Like I would absolutely recommend you, as I have on various channels. Just that level of detail, accountability, and knowledge. I've not met someone as intrinsic but invested in me as well. Like it's an authenticity. It's I think we share very similar values in terms of what we think masculinity is, what motivates us. And you've been on a journey yourself, and we've been on similar paths, really. So I think the fact you're Welsh probably helped a bit as well. But
definitely helps, doesn't it?
It does. We've got that connection, don't you?
100%, my man, 100%. Hey, great to have you on, brother. All right, really enjoyed that. And just for the audience as well, if you are thinking of working with me one-to-one, what I am giving anyway, regardless of the actual program, I'll be giving you like a free metabolic assessment anyway, where it gives you a metabolic score, which tells you exactly what path to take, really, to get the best results possible, whether your goal be fat loss, building muscle, or both. You'll get that for free anyway. And then if you decide you want to work with me, I'll put another link in the show notes for that, which is separate. I'll put those two links in the show notes. So definitely want to try that assessment 100%. You get a ton of value from that either way. And if you want to work with me, the link is just underneath that one. All right. Thanks again, Steve. Really appreciate your time, brother.
Cheers, man.
Cheers,
All the best.
mate.
Bye.
All the best, my man.